Hey, it's DA, and today I want to share with you Space Engineers 2 that just went into early access in its alpha version, and the developers were kind enough to share a key with me so I could show it to you and kind of browse through what it has to offer at the moment. Now, before we dive into the game, I want to be very clear about something before you start and buy stuff like this. This is not just an early access game, this is an alpha version of that game. So if the actual game that is going to be released would be the adult, then this is pretty much going to be the baby version of that. It's going to grow up into that adult, and it's going to be pretty awesome, I think. But for now, there's not just a lot of things to do just yet. As you can see, for example, on the right, things like survival and planets and all the things that I really like about Space Engineer 1 are not in there. They're going to be much more improved compared to Space Engineers 1. I have a pretty good feeling about that, but for now they're not in here. The only thing that is in here for the moment is basically a creative sandbox in which you can build stuff. And if that is something that already appeals to you, then let's dive in. The current sandbox comes with a pre-generated world that gives you a pretty good idea about the kind of stuff that you can build, and also kind of about the visuals, of course, because I do have to say this game looks so much better than Space Engineer 1, and I just mean that from a visual perspective for the moment, because like I said, it's just in its alpha version. But look at this. This looks stunning, and everything you see on the screen right now is something you can build. This game is all about building your entire block, your ships, your space vehicles, anything that you can see you can build by yourself, block by block. You'll need to make sure it's powered, you need to make sure there's controls, you can put the thrusters wherever you want. If you ever wanted to build your own 3D spaceship, for example, you can do that in this game. And that also means you need to be able to actually get around your larger ships, like the one I am currently in at the moment, and look at that, that just looks beautiful. So I really like the visuals. And of course you can take control of your ships as well. You can just go and sit in your ships, and actually flying around your ships is pretty intuitive, pretty easy. And I just want to show you this just because it's fun and I can. There are things like collision and physics in this game that will make sure that if you crash your ships into other ships, things will blow up. So yeah, and as you can see, my ship is now currently on fire, so that is a problem and not typically something you would want to do. But that means in general this game is aiming to be super realistic. So the bigger your ships are, the slower they're going to get. You need to take that into account. You can take on the cargo aboard eventually, at least. That's in Space Engineers 1. Right now there's not much cargo to carry around. All in all, you can already start designing your ships for later use once Space Engineers 2 gets some upgrades. Of course, this being a sci-fi game, you can just take off and fly with your jetpack around and really easily hover around all your creations. So that, I think, is a very nice thing compared to some other games like, for example, Satisfactory, where actually building stuff can be quite annoying because you can't fly initially. However, that being said, there is nothing easy about building stuff in this game. This is really about people that are going to want to be hardcore designers and really be, well, space engineers. There are a massive amount of buildables already in the game that you can select from, a lot of blocks and things like that, power units, stuff like that. Although I do have to say the options are limited at the moment, and I expect these to be expanded upon in the future quite extensively. For now, again, I'm just going to emphasize this: if you want to play a full game and really like have a sense of progress, you might want to pick up Space Engineers 1 instead, get some practice in there, and then turn back to this game once it's a little bit more developed. But I do think this is going to be a massive upgrade over Space Engineers 1. So this is not me trying to talk this game down. I just want to make sure I'm 100% clear about what this game currently is right now. Speaking of designs for the future, there is a blueprint system in the game that will recognize certain blocks that you've already built. You can select that and then save those to make a blueprint for later use. So again, you can already start designing some stuff for the future, but that is what you want to do. But there is not, as far as I know, currently any way of sharing these blueprints. So unlike, for example, in Dice's Reprogram and other games where you can actually upload your blueprints, right now for this game that doesn't exist. I do expect that to actually come in the future, just being clear about that. You can only use your blueprints for your own use at the moment. For the building enthusiasts among you, the game does already include quite a lot of nice little quality of life features. For example, there's the symmetry mode, similar to what I've shown in Cosmeteer a couple of weeks ago, that allows you to build just blocks on one side of a certain screen that you can put up, and you can put it up in any dimension, so on whatever axis you want, and then you can just start building from that point on, and it will place similar blocks on the other side of that in a way that perfectly, well, makes the entire build symmetrical, making it a lot easier to build, for example, like a spaceship that has two equal sides without having to replicate everything on the other side as well. Now, there's also other options. For example, there's the precision mode that for these larger blocks is not super useful, but that if you hold it down shows a very tiny grid that allows you to exactly place things where you need them to go, making it a lot easier to place things down than if you would have to like visually try to make sure that everything is exactly perfectly aligned where you want it to be. I'm going to keep this first look pretty short because honestly you've already seen pretty much everything there is right now. It's a sandbox. It is a very, very beautiful sandbox with a lot of quality of life upgrades, but that is all there is. Now, that said, I can't really recommend this game right now to buy at the price tag that it launched with, and I'm a little bit surprised about that, honestly, because it does have a pretty hefty price tag of about 30 euros or dollars, depending on where you are in the world, which is quite a lot of money to pay for a game that is right now pretty much just like a prototype of what it's going to be eventually. Of course, you get the entire game if you pay that money now, and I don't know, maybe in the future the price will increase or something, but if you want to actually play a game, then I would recommend picking something else up, unless you're a die-hard Space Engineers fan, at which point you probably already have bought the game, so you don't need me to convince you. Either way, if you haven't heard of Space Engineers 1 yet, and this looks interesting, the whole concept of trying to like build your own space stations, your own vehicles, your own spaceships from scratch, then I really recommend you check out Space Engineers 1 for one. And if you like that one, put this on your wish list, keep an eye on it, and once it develops a little bit further, I think this is going to be a game you want to pick up as well. Maybe just not to pick it up right now. Either way, if you're still here, you're awesome. I hope this was useful to you, and I hope to catch you in the next one.